So I'm just going to take you through my brew fridge that I use for serving. So I've got kegs, Corny kegs set up with a pub CO2 gas bottle. I've got a regulator on the top there. This then feeds into my manifold. Now this is a very basic manifold where I can just open or close each line. So at the moment I've got one line open, which is actually feeding my keg that's carbonating inside my brewing fridge. So that's where that one goes into there. So this one I want to put onto one of these two taps. So get that back out of the way. So I've currently got it around about just under 10 psi. It's been forced carbonating for about a week now, and I did a previous video on that. So inside my fridge, my brewing fridge, this was an old second-hand fridge that was free. It was in quite a state and I had to do a lot of cleaning up on it. I also had to cut out part of the bottom of the door because it wouldn't quite fit. In hindsight, I wish I got a slightly bigger one, not taller but wider. This is only 550mm wide, and I can only get one keg in the bottom and one keg in the top. So when this one expires, when I replace it, I'll make sure I get a slightly wider one. I made a shelf for it, put some holes in it to allow air to move around, but also to put gas lines and stuff like that. So this gas line here comes from that manifold. This is an empty keg that I'm going to take out, and I'll show you how I do that. So you can see the gas going into it, you can see the beer line coming out. There's still some beer left in it, although the keg is empty. I've also put into it, as you can see from the front here, an Inkbird ITC 1000 I think it's called, and I just cut a hole in the front of the door, and then you can see it poking through the back here. Wired it up to the fridge itself, and in the back there you can just about see, poking around the corner there, the tube heater. That's it there, look. And then again, like the 308, it just cycles on and off between heating and cooling to keep it at a set temperature. I normally keep mine about 10 degrees, that's because it's what temperature I like. I then fitted two, these are Dalex taps, I think that's how you pronounce it, with a couple of drip trays on there, and they work perfect. These spouts come off so you can clean them. I clean them every time I use it, or every day at least, just so we don't get any build up of anything nasty going on in there, and it works really well. The beer lines, some people have a lot of problem with their beer lines. So the beer line that comes from the keg and up to the tap, we can get a lot of foaming issues. So some people put reducers in, so they take, this is a 3/8 beer line, 3/8 of an inch diameter. They take it down to like 5/16 to reduce the volume, and that helps stop a lot of foaming and fobbing issues. I don't really have a problem. I don't know why. I'm not sure how long this hose is. Probably got to be 2.5 meters, I think, up to the tap. And I don't have any problems at all if I set the PSI on the keg at around about 10 PSI, or just under 10 PSI, about 8 or 9 PSI. It seems to work quite well. So what I'm going to do now is disconnect these two, the gas in and the beer out, and give the keg a good clean out, and then I'll show you how I clean through my lines and everything. So I've disconnected the keg, I've emptied out the dregs that was in there, swished it round with the hose outside, just to get rid of any loose matter. I'm now going to use good old VWP cleaner. It's a chlorine based cleaner, whoops, and so you need to be able to rinse it very well, but it's a very good cleaner, I find. So I'll just chuck a little bit of that in there, pop the lid back on, that way around, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to swish this around a little bit just to mix up that VWP that's in there. I'm then going to reconnect it back to my fridge, so I'm going to put the gas back on it, put the beer outline back onto it, and then I'm then going to pump some of this VWP cleaner back through the lines. So what I've done, if you have a look, is I've reconnected that keg back up to the gas and to the beer line. You can still see the beer, the old beer in that line that needs pumping through and cleaning along with the tap. So what I need to do on my manifold is I'm going to close off this one because that's the one that's feeding the keg that's being carved at the moment. Open up this one because this is the one that feeds into the keg that I'm just about to clean out. Turn the gas on. Now I'm just going to give it a quick blast, get it up to just enough to pump through, so that'll do. Just enough to pump through that solution, the VWP. So if I now open up this tap, just be careful because it does splash everywhere. You can see all that old beer coming out. Nice. And now I've got some clear solution coming through. That will be the VWP cleaning, and all I'm going to do is just leave that now in the lines for about 15-20 minutes. So you can see it's pumped all that old beer through. It'll also be cleaning the inside of the keg and the tubes inside the keg. I'll just leave that for a bit, like I say, about 15-20 minutes. Then I'll pass a bit more through, and then I'll flush it through with loads of clean water, because obviously it's a chlorine based cleaner. We don't want any chlorine smells left inside the lines or the keg itself. So I've left it for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, flushed through them lines a bit more. I've taken it outside. I'm now going to give it a real good rinse through with the garden hose. Give it a really good rinse through, swish it out about 3 or 4 times at least, fill it up just about 2 or 3 inches at the bottom, give it a good swish around, empty it out. Then once I've done that, I'm going to fill it up with probably about, I don't know, a couple of litres of water, and I'm then going to flush through the lines with that water, and I'll show you how I set that up in a minute. So I've rinsed out that keg, probably did about 4 or 5 times I think, wasn't really counting. I've now filled it up with a few litres of water, connected it all back up again to the gas and to the tap, put some pressure into it, and now I'm just going to run a load of water through it just to clean them lines through and get rid of all the VWP tastes and the chemical taste and chlorine taste that you'll get inside there. So we'll just run this through, just a few litres, just to clean it through. So I've now got some Star San in the keg, so I'll flush all that water through. I've then put a little bit of Star San, not much, just probably about, I don't know, 200-300 ml, something like that. And again, I've connected it back up to the tap, connected it back up to the gas, and pressurised it just a little bit. And now I'm going to pass some Star San no rinse sanitizer through it. It's just a bit of a belt and braces thing really. It's just something I like to do. What it also does is, once this has been pushed through, because it's no rinse, it doesn't matter if it's still a little bit in there. But what I can now do is I can leave this keg, this empty keg, sealed. I'll probably keep a little bit of gas in it just to make sure that that lid is sealed properly. So it's then ready to accept my next beer, which is going to be a porter, and I can just then go straight into that. I don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of cleaning it, sterilising it again. So that's what I do for sterilising my lines and getting that through. So the next job, I'll just get the rest of this gas out and Star San out of here, is to connect up the new keg with beer on it. So as we can see, we're all loaded up now. So I've got the keg I was using to clean out, which is empty now. That's sitting on top. Down below I've got the keg with the beer in it that I brewed in my other video. You can see that some of the beer's just been pushed up just when I pushed the gas on for the keg. I've gassed it up, so it should be sitting around about 8 or 9 psi right now. So I'm just going to draw through a little bit just to get some beer in that line, and to pick up any of the sediment that's at the bottom of the keg, because the dip tube goes right down to the bottom. So I like to just draw off the first sort of half pint or so, which I won't drink, and I'll chuck that down the sink, and I should be then ready to pour off my first pint. So here we go then, first pint. I probably won't pull off a whole pint just to see how well carved it is, how well it's coming out. So there we go, that's how it's coming out. So let's have a look. Just let it settle for a minute, and then we should start to see it being nice and clear. So I don't know how well you can see my fingers behind it, but that's looking quite clear. Give it another week or two and that'll clear right up nice, and it tastes very nice. Oh yes, it does.